Hello! Today we are talking about Walden on Wheels by Ken Ilgunas, which, if you've looked, has been on my shelves unread for quite some time. I was excited when I bought it, and then I never got around to it. It was one of those things where you just had, so you kind of are like, oh, like I haven't read it yet, it must not be good, even though there's no logic behind why I got uninterested in it. Then I picked it up. Turns out it's way better than I thought it was. Here's why I wasn't excited. I bought this after reading a Yahoo News article about Ken, and I've done that before with The Man Who Quit Money, which is on my bookshelf tour, and the book was okay. I mean, it's not bad, but it's fine. And like Into the Wild, I didn't do that because I wasn't paying attention when the article came out. But that's sort of similar, but that's a really, really, really awesome book. And I feel like this is closer to that. This is a really good book, and some of it's problematic. Some of the criticism I've seen of this book is they don't like his tone and the way he talks about middle-class suburbanite life. And that's true. He does get a little, like, preachy, but, I mean, he feels passionately, and I can respect that. So basically the premise of this is that this isn't fiction. Well, that's a whole other thing. It's a memoir, or a book about his experiences. How do they list it? Do they have that back here? Anyway, sometimes it's on there. Anyway. So essentially, memoir, that's how they have it listed. I knew I'd find it. So he graduated high school, middle of the pack, in New York. Started attending, I forget what university, but it was more of a higher-end university. Not necessarily a big name, but just more of an expensive kind of private school. And he decided to save some money and go to the University of Buffalo, where he did his undergrad and ended up being like $32,000 in debt at the end of it, and he got a liberal arts degree, which he found to be useless in finding a job, and I believe he graduated in 2009, is what I think. I could be wrong. I should know, because he's very clear with the dates in here. If you give me a second. Nope, he did not graduate in 2009. He graduated, must have been, I think, 2006, 2008, something like that. Anyway, so he tried to find a job. He couldn't find a job, so he decided he needed to pay that debt down. He was doing all sorts of, like, menial kind of jobs. He had a job working during the winters in Alaska at this, like, camp thing, and then he kind of worked there, moved up, got a job as, like, a ranger, helping the rangers, and then doing something else. And he ended up, because he would have these jobs where he was in remote places and couldn't buy anything, and at the same time his board and room were included, just because of the nature of the jobs, he managed to knock out all that debt and pay it back within like 2 or 3 years, and then be debt-free, at which point, through various experiences of outdoor living and kind of alternative kind of adventures, which are very interesting. I mean, he recounts them all in this book, and they're really interesting. He decided to go into a graduate program and was accepted at Duke, but wanted to remain debt-free. So he outfitted a van and lived in a van while attending class at Duke, and lived in the parking lot. So that essentially is kind of like the end of the novel. It makes it sound like it's going to be the majority of the novel, and it's really not. The majority of this, or the majority of the memoir, is how he got to that point. And he's both recounting the story and looking back on it at the same time. And which is obviously wow, that was really stupid. I'm on a roll today. Anyway, he makes a lot of judgment calls about the overconsumption of goods and services and space by most Americans, and he has a lot of strong opinions about this. which is why I think people feel a little offended by the book sometimes. He's not necessarily saying that it's evil, but he's saying it doesn't work for him, and he does acknowledge that, even though he usually says that it shouldn't work that way for anybody, but he does say at certain points that, at least for him, he can't live like that, or he doesn't want to. But I think the important part, and what he focuses on, is that his college education was worth the debt, but the system is broken in that it puts you into debt. And that instead of... His essential thing is that although his degree wasn't very useful in a job market sense, he felt it turned him from being a slacker, kind of into the kind of guy who ended up graduating like near the top of his classes, you know, in his graduate program, and giving the commencement speech. And he credits his liberal studies program with allowing him to expand his mind and do what you'd consider like maybe like the old school university thing, where you're there to question and to learn how to think critically and learn and really like think about things and really turn them over. And his whole point is that most of the classes and majors in a university now are designed to prepare you for a job and to fit you into that job so that you can work until you die. And so this book really succeeds in that he's asking you to do what he did and to not necessarily accept his conclusions, but just to question these things. And there were points where I found myself really captivated. His writing is good for... It's straightforward. There's a lot of funny parts. It's a little bro-y at certain points. I mean, he's a dude, and he was kind of a, you know... Oh, like, not alpha male, but kind of a little, like, you can tell, a little. But it's good. It was entertaining. I read through it very quickly, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I'd give it a 4. Because it did. It succeeded. Its main purpose was to get you to question the status quo, and do you need these things? And it really did make me question that. And I'm still thinking about it. So I'd give it a 4 in that it really does succeed in that. It would get a 5, but the execution, just as a stuffy, arrogant, you know, ass of a lit major, it could have been better writing, so I have to knock it a little for that. But it's up there. It'd be like Into the Wilds, tippity top for this kind of thing, like a modern Walden kind of deal. Into the Wild, I'll go here, and then maybe like here and Wild are together, like they're on the same level, and we have like The Man Who Quit Money and like some other stuff is down below that. But this was a really, really good one. If you're interested in that, I highly suggest going and picking this up. And I do believe it says in here that, I mean, he's still fairly young, but yeah, 10% of all author royalties will be donated to the Wilderness Society. So, if that helps sway anybody. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. As always, have a good life and enjoy reading.